Begin the current Daf, the Pesachim Daf Yud Gimel, begin on the second line down at the top of the Yomid, where the Gemara continues the discussions from the previous Daf regarding different ideas and counsel that different Amaroam gave to other people. Joining us for today's Daf. Some of the discussed in today's Daf are instructions that Amaroam gave to their Talmidim, different business advice, profession of beer brewing, how to collect money. Some of the key terms and concepts discussed in today's Daf are a famous quote called Tuvi Chota Bezigud Mingad. What? Toby did Avera, and I'm getting the club. It's like, the boy in class is saying, why am I getting in trouble when he did it, when he made the trouble? Dam Tayr is the concept about that when a woman gives birth. So for the first 7 or 14 days, she's Tommy. The next 33 or 66, depending if it's a boy or girl, then any dam that comes out is considered tar. So begin the current daf. Second line daf at the top of the Yomid. Amalei Rav Ravasi says, Leitada b'masa, the Leitzanas b'asusi. Don't live in a town where there's no horses that are named. In other words, if there's no horse, because the horses protect the city from thieves, to run after them and to catch them. So don't be in a town where you have no horses so you can't catch the thieves. And don't live in the city where they know that the horses are not barking, again, because the dogs, they protect the city when they bark and there's any intruders. Don't live in the city, Deresh Masa Asi, that the mayor of the city, the one in charge of the city, is a doctor, because he's busy with his profession and he's not able to be available for the tzarchit tzibur. I don't know if that means a therapist also, but the doctors, you don't want to have them in charge because they're busy with their profession. Like Tansan Tarti, don't marry two wives because they're going to gang up against you, the two of them. And actually, Inosav Tarti, if you marry two, so someone said yesterday, anytime you're in doubt, just add on another one, Inosav plus. So you get a third wife, because if two gang up against you, the third one's going to tell you what they're doing. So don't marry two, either one or three. What? Amalei Rav Kahana. So Rav said to Rav Kahana, he said, Hafich bin Nevelta. He says, turn over a carcass, and don't turn over your words. Which can mean also don't change what you said you're going to say. But pshal nevelta b'shuka, skin a dead carcass in the street, b'shakal igra, and take payment for the skinning of the animal. Don't say, because this was Rav Kahana he was telling. Don't say, I'm Kahana, and I'm a great person, and it's not appropriate. No, do work. Don't be so bakuvadik. See, the nemzach the arbeit, even though it's a degrading work, and don't think, I'm too respectful, and it's not worth it for me to work. Salkal Igra said, when you're going on a journey, even to a very close place, like up to the attic, to the roof, your food should be with you. You should always have food with you. You never know what's going to happen. Me'akari b'masa, even if the 100 gourds in the city is bezuzah, is very cheap, that's just one zuz, to say kanafach nahave, it should still be with you. In other words, like that mother saying, no, please take your peanut butter jelly sandwich, you never know what's going to happen, and you thank her after, it's like, I was starving, I had that peanut butter, that tuna fish sandwich, that was mizich balek, it's like, always have your food with you. Amalei Rav Lechi Berei says, Leitishti Sama, he says, don't take any drugs, don't drink any of the potions, because what happens is you're going to get used to this fix, and your heart's going to desire it, and you're going to lose money. And even for medicinal purposes, don't try not to take any substances if you can have some other way of healing. Like Tishva Nigra, don't jump over a brook, because if you have to take a large step, it takes away a person's eyesight. And people used to jump from one side to the other one to shorten their distance. Don't do that, because by taking a psiyagasa, it takes away a person's eyesight. Leitak or kacha, don't uproot your teeth because of an illness, because ultimately it's going to heal. So be careful when they want to take out all your molars there. Don't just rip out your teeth. They might have ended up healing and you need your teeth. Don't provoke a snake. And don't provoke an Aramean. Now, Ramban related to this, the Gemara brings a brayso, Gimel Im Miskana. There's 3 people that you shouldn't go ahead and provoke. Ve'elohim, they are Nachi Katan, even a small non-Jew, V'nachish Katan, even a small snake, V'talmud Katan, and even a small student. Might tell what's the reason? Because the Machusayu, their sovereignty, is behind their ears. What it means to say is that they're going to become big one day, and their fear and their intimidation is going to grow, and they're going to take revenge on you. So even though the student is a small little boy, we've seen these in schools, right? These bullied kids, and then one day they get a gun or whatever it is they do. So don't mess with the snake or the non-Jew or the student that's small, because one day they're going to get big. Amalei Rav Levi Berei, Rav said to his son Abel, he says, Tarchi b'cha b'shmaitza said, "I'm sich geprieft with you. We tried to teach you well. And we weren't successful. Let me teach you at least some business dealings how to do. You know, you're not going to make it in the Torah world. Let's see. Let's try to teach you how to do well in the business world." So he told him the following business advice. It says, "Adachala akarich." When there's still sand on your feet, meaning when you just came back from the journey, zvinach zaven, sell what you brought so that you could quickly go back and buy more volume and sell again. Kol mili zavim etachar. Anything you could buy, and when you sell it, if it went up in price, you could regret that you sold too quickly. Okay, one of those in real estate today, right? You say, "Oh, it went up another 100K." So anything you could sell, and you could have regret, bar mechama, except for wine. Because maybe if you didn't sell it, it would have soured. So that's one thing for sure, you don't have to regret if you sell it right away. There's something like the charet, you can sell it and not have regret. Shari Kisach, he says, open up your purse. In other words, first open up your purse to receive the money that people could pay you, and then pasach sakich. Then open up your sack of your merchandise and then give it to the buyer. You don't give and then get the money. You first get the money and then you give. Kava me'ara, he says that better go to a close place where you can profit a little bit. V'lei kura me'igra. A kura is like 180 times more than this kav. But if it takes to go up to the roof, which you get 180 times, no, better go somewhere close than to try to gain a lot from going at a far distance. Tamra b'chaloizach. If you have dates in that vessel, which what's called the challah is, which they would put the dates. Lebeis sudan rohit, run quickly to the place where the beer brewery to make beer out of it. In Talmudic times, they would make their beer primarily out of dates. Because if you wait, what's going to happen is you're going to eat it, and anyways you're going to lose the money. So it's like what people say, you got money, quickly invested, because before you know it, we spent it anyways. So if you have the dates, quickly run to the beer brewery, at least you'll have beer, which you'll be able to make money off of, and that the oil wouldn't just eat up the dates. About kama, how much are dates that you should quickly run to the beer brewery? Morelli says, Atlas saw, he says, even up till 3 saw, very little amount, quickly make beer out of it. And Amar Papi says, he says, if not for the fact that I was a beer brewer, lo yatri, I would not have become wealthy. Which Trace actually points out, the Gemara actually in Elu Oivrin says, or Papa says, if not for the fact that I married the daughter of a Kohen, I wouldn't have got wealthy. So Trace says, yeah, sometimes it takes more than one thing to make a person wealthy. But one of them was because he was a beer brewer. Igdami, Amar Rav Chizda, some say it wasn't Rav Papa. Rav Chizda says, if I didn't make beer, loyatri, I would not have become wealthy. Says my Sudna, why do we call the beer brewer Sudna? What's that terminology? So Rav Chizda, he says, because it's a soidna. It's a beautiful secret. It means it's a good idea because people become wealthy from it. And also a person could give to the poor. He could do a lot of charity and kindness with it because there's not a lot of principle that goes into the beer. Beer is just water that's fermented. And that's actually the word sudna is also soyedna. Soyed is to satiate, and you could go ahead and do that. You could do a favor and support other people. That's why it's called sudna. Now, I'm a Papa, continue on this different business idea. Kol aga. Any bill, anything that you have to write a document, for example, for a loan or for some trustworthiness, gavi bay. You still have to collect it, and it's still effort. So don't think if you have a document that you don't have the money in the bank yet. So to kol ashray, any sale, suffolk, maybe it's going to come, maybe it's not going to come. You know, it's the fact that you made the sale, you still don't have the money. And even though the asi when it's going to come, it's bad money. In other words, the guy's paying you 1 zuz at a time. The guy's giving you another 50, a 5, a 1, a 3. It's like you don't have. It's not. Don't think you have that exactly as you think. There are 3 things Rabbi Yechon named about the people of Yerushalayim. When you got to war, I'll take some B'Rishayna. Don't be the first one to go out. I'll take some B'Rishayna, be the last one to go out. Then you can be the first one to come back in if you're fleeing from the enemy. Second thing is, like we said in the previous stuff, and make your Shabbos even on weekday, and that you don't have to come on to other people. Tyson brings the Gemara in Beis says that for the Shabbos and Yom Tov expenses, if you don't spend a lot, then you get less. That's by your own money. If you have. If you don't have, then spend less. If you have, spend as much as you can, because then you're just going to get more money. If you don't have, don't take on other people's monies. Rather make your Shabbos weekday. And the third thing was about Mishtadl and Misha Shom Esachekis, like we mentioned in the previous topic. Eve tried to go ahead and get business dealings with people that the light is shining on them, that they're doing well. Another thing, 3 things Rabbi Shloimy Levi said in the name of the people of Yerushalayim. Al Tarba beganis. Don't spend too much time in the gardens. In other words, don't be in an open public place where it's revealed. Because of an infamous story that happened, which was the famous story of David and Bathsheba, like it says in the Pesachim Daf, that he was on the roof and he saw a woman bathing from the roof, where that created the desire, and because it was out in the open. So don't spend too much time in public places. Bitcha bagra. If your daughter became an older girl, meaning even just 12 and a half, if she became a years, you're so concerned about shidduchim, shachar avdecha, free your slave, but tell her, give it to her. I mean, you just want to get her married, go ahead and even free your slave for that. That is ishtacha, be careful with your wife, from her first son-in-law. My time, what's the reason? So Chizdami says mishum erva, because of immorality. Rav Kahana mishum mammon, he says because she's going to spend all your money on the ershta item, which I have to thank my shviga, Mom. The ershta item, she thanked me yesterday all day, packing, unpacking for me. Right, this is what they do, mishum mammon. And said, you have to be concerned for both of them, for erva and for mammon. Now, Rabbi Yechanan, he says, another teacher, Rabbi Yechanan, he says there's three people that inherit the world to come. And they are Hador Be'eretz Yisrael, someone lives in Eretz Yisrael, someone brings up his children to learn Torah, and someone makes Havdalah on wine on Matzah Shabbos. What does that mean? Making Havdalah on wine, that's a regular mitzvah. Says the Gemara, no, it's the Bishar Mekadusha Labdalta. We're talking about somebody who has a very little wine. And he puts away, he doesn't drink from the Kiddush, and he saves it for Havdalah. That's a person who's Ben Oil Mabba, which I have to say, I heard once years ago from Elta Yidl in Florida. He said that, when he's leaving him from Kiddush to Havdalah, there are times in life that are Kiddush moments. Kiddush moments are when you're married to your sweetheart, and you have your first kid, and you have beautiful moments in life. Those are the Kiddush moments. You have Havdalah moments in life where there's a death, and where you have a loss, and these Havdalah separated moments. Someone who leaves over from the Kiddush moments for the Havdalah, that's a Ben Abba. He lives with the treasured moments, and he can make it through the difficult times. That's someone who lives over Kiddush to Havdalah. Another teaching, Rabbi Yechanan, he says, the three people that HaKadosh Baruch Hu announces regarding them every single day. The Al-Ravak, regarding a single bachelor, Hadar B'krach, that lives in the city, and he doesn't sin. That even a pauper who gives back a lost item to its owner, again, which is also an incredible thing. And a wealthy person who he gives his tithes of his produce in private, discreetly, which is also a great thing because he wants to have recognition of that and he doesn't. Now the Gemara says Rav Safra was a bachelor, and Hadar B'krach, who lived in the city. As you continue with Beis, and Tani Tana, there was someone who taught this Bryce of the three people, HaKadosh Baruch Hu praises them for and announces this praise every single day. It was taught Kamei the Rav Safra. Now, Rav Safra's face lit up. No, the shir, I'm that guy. So Amalei Rav said to him, don't get so excited. Doesn't mean someone like you. They were these shoemakers in Eretz Yisrael. And then their slot where they had to sell their shoes was in the marketplace of the harlots. And they would make the shoes for the harlots. And they would come into the store, so the harlots were looking at the rabbis. The rabbis were the shoemakers, they're looking down on the ground on their shoes. They don't lift up their eyes to look at these inappropriately dressed women. And the oath of the women were hach, they would say, wow, so they would say, in the lives of the holy rabbis in Eretz Yisrael, those are the holy rabbis. That's what I mean, a single person who Hashem announced every single day, that he has the Shmir Sinayim, that's the person. But stop being single doesn't sin, that you don't merit that machriz Allah b'chol yon. And then the Gemara, Shleish HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the three people HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves. Misha in the Kai, someone doesn't get angry. Taka, great thing. Misha in the Shtaki, someone doesn't get intoxicated. But Misha in the Mamad HaMedai, someone doesn't stand on principle. A person is a flexible person. Shleish HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying that three people HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates. Those fake people that they speak one thing with their mouth and one thing in the heart. He said, oh yeah, and in his heart he thinks totally different. Someone knows testimony to help out his friend in court to testify and he doesn't testify. Someone knows, he sees something that the guy did something inappropriate, immorally, and he testifies as an individual. As the Gemara brings Kihad, the Tuvya Chata. There was a situation with Tuvya, he did something inappropriate sexually. Zigud, he came himself and he said, in front of the Papa, said, look, I saw what this guy did. And they gave lashes to Zigud, who he said about what Tuvya did. So Amalei, this is the famous quote, Tuvya Chata Zigud. What? And he did the sin, and I get the lashes? So Amalei says, yes, the Chizuk says the pasuk in the bottom. It says you can't have one witness testifying regarding what someone does wrong. So the pasuk is saying that you're not believed. And you yourself will come to testify. What are you doing? You're just giving a bad reputation. You're not believed anyways. You're not going to be received. So you have no mitzvah to testify. So you're violating. You're stam a talebearer. You're stam a slanderer. Now, however, what he does say is if someone does see by himself somebody doing something inappropriately, and even though he's not allowed to testify, but you're allowed to hate the guy because he knows this guy's a wicked person. This guy, he saw him doing something wrong. Somebody says in the pasuk, it says in the pasuk, you see the donkey of your enemy that's laying beneath its load. Now the question is, my sign. In other words, who is this enemy that the Torah is talking about? It means to say a non-Jew that you hate. So this enemy that the pasuk is talking about, that you have to help with the load of his animal, is Sani Yisrael, is a Jew that you hate. Not a non-Jew that you hate. So obviously we're talking about Sani Yisrael, we're talking about a Jew that you're hating. So are you allowed to hate a Jew? As Rambam explained, we're presuming we're not talking about a wicked person. A wicked person you're allowed to hate. We're presuming we're not talking about a wicked person. Because what says you're allowed to hate your brother in your heart. So who's this Jew that you hate? Well, rather must be dekes sahadi david isuru. So what are you going to say? Yeah, because there's witnesses that he did an isur. But if that's the case, it's not your enemy. Everyone hates him. My shnahai. Why are we talking about this guy that it's his enemy? Allah, brother says the Gemara ki hagam. That must be like the case that we're talking about. The chazbe ihud va'erva. He saw this guy doing something inappropriately, promiscuously, and he can't testify, but he knows this guy's a wicked person. Then you're allowed to hate him. Now, not B'Yitzchak, he actually says mitzvah. Not only you're allowed to hate him, it's a mitzvah to hate him. It's like the pasuk in Mishlei. Yiras Hashem, the Ger says, sinas ra, those who fear God, they hate wickedness. Now, Tais actually asks an interesting question. The Gemara in Elam Mitzvah says that if you have your friend that you could unload his animal, and you have an enemy that you could load up his animal, it's a mitzvah to do your enemy so that you subdue your evil inclination. Now the question is, what type of subduing your inclination if you're saying it's a mitzvah to hate him? Says Tais is a very interesting psychological idea. It says, since you hate him, so now that guy hates you too. Because the pasuk says, Kamaim upon the pumpkin adam. And that's going to bring to a bona fide sinah in the Klal Yisrael. So that applies to Kfiyas Eitzah. You're allowed to hate him, but now you're going to cause him to hate you. So because of that, it's appropriate to actually go and help him first before you help your friend. Now, a later discussion, the Gemara brings Amar Vacha B'Rei Rava L'Ravashi says, Mahu L'Memra What's the halacha? Let's say you saw someone doing something inappropriately. He's on the avenue, and who knows with a woman, and he did something, and you're the only one that saw it. Can you tell his Rebbe that his Rebbe can hate him? Someone like this is actually very important halacha in Hilchos Kabbalas Lashon Hara that Chofetz Chaim is learned about. It says, if his teacher trusts you like two people, then tell him. If not, don't tell him. It's only if he trusts you like two people, then there's a purpose for that. Now, talking about the Brisa Shleish, the three people Chayim and Chayim, that their life is not considered a life. Harachmanim, people who are too merciful. V'aschanan, people get very angry. And people that are very delicate, very sensitive people. Which these three things, it's something that constantly happens to you, so you're always being triggered, and it's not a life because the person has no menucha. Now, what interesting Tosfos says that the Gemara in Beya actually brings three other people that their life is not a life. Someone that lives off someone else's food, someone that his wife rules over him, or if he has affliction all over his body. Why doesn't say those over here? So Tosfos says because here we're talking about those things which are in the nature of a person. That's why we're saying, like, from the three things that Kodesh Baruch Hu loves is someone that doesn't get angry, and that's different than there, which are circumstantial situations. Here we're talking about in a person's personality. And V'amar V'yisvi says, Kulu is Nubi, and I have all these three things. So you see, you can never live a life, and Rav Yisrael is a great Amoira. It doesn't mean it's the end of your life. That's why personality typing is important, but don't think it's the end of everything. We learned in the Brisa Shleish that three people, that they three types of things that hate each other. Elahen Haklam, dogs, they hate each other. Vatanagan, the roosters. Vachabarim, which they were a certain type of people amongst the Persians, they also hate each other. V'yeshem, some say Abazayin is also the harlots. They hate each other, the competition. V'yeshem, some say also the Talmudic scholars in Babel, they were very competitive. That they hate each other. What? Kenesafim. When the Brisa Shleish Oivim Zeh. There are three who love each other's. Elohen, they're Hagerim, the converts, they love each other. And Vavadim and slaves. Va'arvin and Nekros. Arba, there are four, that in Hadas, that the consciousness of people cannot be sublost, and they can't tolerate these types of people. Elohen, they are Dalgeya, a poor, arrogant person. Like, who do you think you are? You're arrogant, you walk in, you're an ani. V'ashem Mekachish, a wealthy person who denies. He's like, when you're a wealthy person, what are you being like that? Just own up. V'zakim an elderly person who's an adulterer, old man already, give it up already. Like, and uparnas mizgal tzibur b'chinam. If you have someone who's a leader that's arrogant over the people for nothing. In other words, he doesn't even help them out in their time of need. Like, it just people can't be civil. You're a leader. You became a leader now. Why are you doing this? You're not even helping out the people. Some say some say it's someone who divorces his wife once and twice, and he takes her back. Like, again, you don't you get it? It's not working out. Like, why do you keep on going back? Now, the Tanakama, why didn't he mention this case? Because sometimes she has a big dowry he can't afford to pay up. You got to give it. Suddenly he realizes this is alimony and all these different things. It's not worth it, so he takes her back. Or another reason is because he has children from her. He can't divorce her because he has to take care of the kids. Anyways, he takes her back. Now, there's 5 things that Canaan commanded his sons, which it doesn't really mean that. It just means that that's how the Canaanites act, as if their father commanded them. And the difference is that you have to be careful about the following things. He so to speak, said to his sons, Ahu v'zezel, love each other. Vav gezel, love theft. Vav zima, love licentiousness, immorality. V'sanas adonechem, hate your masters, which Canaan are the avodim amongst the world. Vav tadaber, and don't speak the truth. Now, there are 6 things said regarding a horse. First of all, they love immorality. Mean they're not faithful. They love war. Berucha Gasa, he's arrogant. Umayis Hashina, and he hates to sleep. Vaychel Harbe eats a lot. And he only excretes a little bit. Some say the horse also tries to kill its owner at war. When there's something, lift up the feet and they throw the guy off. There are 7 that are excommunicated from heaven. Elohein, and they are Yehudi Shein Isha, a Jew who doesn't have a wife. V'sheish le'isha ve'en labanim, and he has a wife but he doesn't have any kids. Now, Taisa points out that these halachas specifically regarding negligence, where a person is not engaged trying to have children, like all the other cases. Like in the cases that it's going to say if he doesn't have tefillin on his head or tzitzis on his garment. He's talking about where he has, but he's just not putting it on. Or even if he doesn't have, he should really try to put his stuff to try to get. But again, if he can't, we're not talking about that. We're talking about someone who is negligent, doesn't get married, doesn't have kids. Or he has kids, but he doesn't bring them up to learn Torah. Where someone doesn't put tefillin on his head and doesn't wear tefillin on his arm, but tzitz big door or tzitz on his garment, mezuzah by Pesachim, mezuzah by his doorway, and he doesn't wear shoes on his feet. Some say also someone does not sit around a group of mitzvah. For example, let's say a bris milah, or when a bas kohen gets married to a kohen, where that's also considered something that, like Taisa brings a Sudas Milah, the Medrash brings that he's safe from the din of Gehenna. So don't think you have to never sit through that drasha by the bris milah. You don't want to stay and you want to do cash and carry. No, it's you're safe from the din of Gehenna. If you buy a chasna, a tamachacham, and a bas kohen l'kohen, is also now. But Taisa brings out specifically if there's appropriate people that are sitting there. But like the Gemara Sanhedrin says, those Niki Adas and Yerushalayim, they wouldn't sit at Suda unless they knew who was there. Who's going to be there? It's like then they would come. They don't want to be around people that are not upstanding individuals. Like who's at that shidduch, you know? From where do you know that you can't ask astrologers regarding advice? You know, like it says the pasuk in the Devarim, it says, you should be complete with Hashem, your God, which you should be confident whatever's going to happen, whatever's going to be, there's all from their Rebbeinu Shalom. When you ask astrologers, you want to just live your life. How do you know regarding someone that's even greater than you, even just in one area? You have to treat him respectfully. It says the person Daniel, that because of one extra spirit that was in him, which was regarding Daniel, and the king Daryavish, he considered him to make him over the whole kingdom because of one thing, which Taisus points out that you didn't learn from him. Because if you learn from him, that's the Mishnah says the opposite. David called Achitofel Rabbi and Alufi because he only learned 2 things from him. We're talking about you didn't learn anything from him. Just the fact that he has one thing more than you have to treat him respectfully. By Yeshem Saldam Taya, a woman that finished all her days of Tahara, which is that we said if she reached already day 40 of having a boy or day 80 of having had a girl, where if she sees now after the 80 days or 40 days she's actually a nida, So Asur l'Shabbos. So the night after that's over, even though she didn't have dam, but since she's so used to seeing the dam up until now, and she knew she's allowed to have tashmish even with the dam, which we don't have in today's times, but in Talmudic times, the dam toihar, they would be able to have tashmish even though there's dam coming out for those 40, 80 days, because it's considered dam toihar. The night after, don't have tashmish, as the Gemara says, ad kama, how long should you not have tashmish after? Again, because she thinks, oh, dam's not a problem. It's Amar Rav, he says, Aina, it's one period, either it's one night, which is the night after the 40th day, as Rabbah says that the Jewish people, they stay away from their wives and they had a period for an Aina, which is either a day or a night. Now, Tana learned in the Brisa, who Yeshu is Hutzal, which we mentioned before, he's the same who's called Hu Yeshu Babli, who Isi ben Gur Arya, who Isi ben Yehuda, who Isi ben Gamliel, who Isi ben Malalu. He had all these aliases. Umashma, what's his name? Isi ben Akab Yishmai, that's his real name. Now, so too, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Tavlo, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Chaklo, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elah. Now, parenthetically, the Gemara continues top of Kovidal and Aleph that this is unrelated, but it's talking about regarding Rabbi Yitzchak that's mentioned in the Shmaitzer. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Acha, he's the Shmaitzer. Whenever you have a teaching of Rabbi Yitzchak in a sugya, in the halachic sugya, it's Rabbi Yitzchak ben Acha, and Rabbi Yitzchak ben Pinchas, he's that guy. So whenever Rabbi Yitzchak by unspecified by a Catholic teaching, it's Rabbi Yitzchak ben Pinchas. And the mnemonic to remember this is a pasuk in Yom Aleph, which the Ger says, Shemuni Ache Ba'ami, that is, Shimonu Achai, hear my brothers, with Shimu is like Shmaitza, and Achai is Ben Acha. So that's how you know which Rabbi Yitzchak it is. So when it's discussed in today's Daf, in Pesachim Daf, Kufyat Gimel, we said, don't live in a city that doesn't have a horse, that doesn't have a dog, if the in charge of the city is a doctor, don't marry 2 wives, rather marry 3 wives. Even Rav Kahana, it's better to skin a dead animal in the street than to say, oh, it's not appropriate, it's beneath my dignity to do such a job. You should always have your food with you. Don't take drugs if you don't need to. 3 types of things that you shouldn't provoke when they're small, which is a non-Jew and a snake and a student. And in general, regarding business, we saw sell. Always sell, and you'll regret later. Make your Shabbos weekday and try to do business with people that are very successful. Don't spend too much time out in the open in the gardens, and free your slave to marry off your daughter. Be careful from your wife from her first son-in-law, which is because of erva and because of mammon. 3 people inherit oil ma'aba, is living in Eretz Yisrael. Bring up your kids for Talmud Torah. Make havdalah from the wine kit that you left over from Kiddush from Matzah Shabbos. 3 people HaKadosh Baruch Hu announces regarding them every single day. A bachelor that lives in the city doesn't sin. Well, he said really, like he's really close to that, but he doesn't. A poor person who returns a lost item, and a wealthy person who takes his meiser discreetly. 3 people HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves, doesn't get angry, doesn't get intoxicated, and is not Maiman al Midaisa. And 3 people HaKadosh Baruch Hu hates, if he's Echad B'Pev, Echad B'Leiv, he doesn't testify when he knows. If he sees a Dvar Erva and he testifies by himself, which is the famous phrase, Tov Yechad V'Zigad Mingad, yeah, because what are you saying if we're not going to gain anything? The donkey of your enemy refers to someone who sees Dvar Erva by himself, and that it's mutter, or even possibly a mitzvah to hate him. 3 people, their lives are not alive. He's too merciful, or too angry, or too delicate. Rabbi Yosef had all of those. 3 people, because 3 people hate it. 3 types hate each other: dogs, roosters, and chavarim. Some say Zionist and Talmud Chamash of the Bible. 3 love each other: are Gerim, Avadim, and the crows. 4, a person can't be slave. These types of people is a poor person who's arrogant, a wealthy person who denies the claims against him, an older person that's an adulterer, and a parent, a leader that's misguided. Thank you for any time for hosting us.